Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 114 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley.
If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the show for you. Now, in today's episode, Lesley and I are talking about the 10 Christmas items to declutter today, because it's the start of December. And most of us are going to be putting up our Christmas trees and our decorations around our homes soon. Or maybe you've already decorated, I don't know. But anyway, Lesley and I have identified 10 Christmas items that you can declutter. Can we really talk about decluttering in December, Lesley? Are people going to go, what? Decluttering Christmas items? Absolutely not.
I know, but I bet there's going to be some light bulbs going on once we start talking about our little list, isn't there, Ingrid?
So, Lesley, have you already put up your Christmas tree? Have you already identified items that you can declutter from your house?
I'm sure there will. The Christmas tree is going up this weekend. And the reason why is I've been holding off. It's a different kind of a year, isn't it? People are very divided this year, aren't they? Because of COVID and everything that's gone on. Shall we put the Christmas tree and the Christmas decorations up early just to bring a little bit of brightness into the miserableness of COVID, to be fair? And people are like, no, Christmas is sacred and we should not do it too early. So I am beholden to my son, who was 18 this week. Happy 18th birthday, Nathan.
Aww.
I know. And so he was categorically like, you are not putting the Christmas tree or decorations up until my birthday has gone. So the Christmas tree will be going up this weekend, just in time to start my decluttering of Christmas items.
Well, I'm actually in the same boat, Lesley, because my husband's birthday is on the 6th. It's this Sunday, and he does not want a Christmas tree or any decorations in the house before or on his birthday. So I'm actually looking at somewhere next week when I'm going to put up my tree. And maybe you're not celebrating Christmas at all, but you are celebrating a holiday season or another holiday. And it's basically decorations as the big picture, but we just call it Christmas decorations because we put Christmas trees up so we know what we're talking about, right, Lesley?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, just insert any other holiday decorations where we talk about Christmas.
Yeah.
So when you start to put your Christmas tree up, there are going to be things that come out of those boxes that have lain idle for the past year or so that you're going to look at. And sometimes you look at these things year after year after year and you put them back in the boxes, even though you don't use them in your Christmas decor for this year. So it might be a little bit obvious, but the first one that we're going to talk about is Christmas lights. Now, Christmas lights are a little bit different now than what they used to be, because years gone by, you used to actually change over individual bulbs, and that's not the case. They're normally fused in now, so they're a little bit different than newer lights. But nevertheless, what happens is that gradually, slowly but surely, bulbs go in Christmas lights, and it gets to a point where too many of them go. So you've got more lights off than on. And that's potentially the time that these Christmas lights need to be swapped over. They can be recycled straight away in electrical recycling. In the UK, we have electrical recycling at the tips. Not ideal. We don't want to be throwing things away, but there comes a point when they are not fit for purpose anymore because there's more lights off than there are on.
I know. I mean, I remember one year we had kind of similar strings of lights with indeed the loose lights. And at one point, I think it was my husband, but I'm not completely sure, a lot of lights were broken. And he actually managed to rescue some of the lights that were still working. Oh my goodness, it is a fiddly job. I was like, okay, if you want to do this, you go for it. And we then had a lot of spare lights to replace other lights with. So we're being frugal, but sensitive for the environment as well. But I agree with you, Lesley. There comes a point where you just have to give up. And especially with those lights, you can still change the light bulbs, but nowadays you can't. I actually still have a string of lights that belonged, you can believe this or not, from my grandmother. really the old-fashioned, almost candlelight kind of lamps. I mean, absolutely stunning. But I'm going to be distraught at one point. I'm probably not going to be able to get those lights anymore when I'm going to have to let it go. But for now, I'm like, yay, they're still working. I'm so happy. But having said that, I haven't used them in a couple of years. But I don't think I can let them go yet because they're a bit sentimental and special as well. So I actually want to maybe get a second tree where I can put those lights. I might do that this year. You know what? I might get 2 trees and get a second tree where I can put the lights from my grandmother in. That would be
Do it.
nice.
I totally have 2 trees. I love Christmas. I have 2 trees. I'm not giving up my 2 trees lightly. So, yes, Christmas tree lights. I mean, one of the things that I do, because I have an artificial tree that's pre-lit, so it's got the lights already on it. It's quite an old tree now, so that's why I've got 2 lights, because I've one that's kind of a little bit on its way out and one that's all brand spanking new and lovely and lit. And so what I do is I do use some light on the pre-lit tree. I put extra sets of lights just to bulk it up a little bit, so you can eke out a few more years out of these lights. Don't throw them away prematurely, but just know that these are kind of things that you need to keep your eye on, and once you're not using them anymore, that's the time that they need to go.
Before we go to the next thing, just one top tip. Test the lights first and then put them in your tree. Don't put them all in your tree and then plug them in and go, oh no, half of the string isn't working anymore, because then you have to untangle it all. And it's not a fun job. That's like one of the most miserable jobs, is getting the lights out of the tree. So please, please, that's my top tip for today. Tested lights before you put them in the tree. So let's move on to the second one then, Lesley.
So I've already shared that I've actually got 2 trees. I've got like a beautiful kind of designery tree. It's all silver and glass and all gorgeous and stuff that goes in one room. And then I've got my beautiful traditional tree that I've had for years, where I've got all the ornaments that I've gathered over the years. Things that I lived in America for a couple of years. I bought an awful lot of ornaments while I was there. I buy Christmas ornaments when I'm on my travels as well to remind me of places. There are things that the kids made when they were little. So it's a real childhood tree. And there's just no way that I could not have that. Do you know what I mean? And so I have 2 very different styles of tree, and I actually swap them in. I've got 2 rooms that I can put trees in. Sometimes I have it in my kitchen sort of room, family room, and sometimes I have it in my front room. So I swap them over each year. Not decided yet which tree is going in which room this year. But of course, there are always going to be decorations that you want to filter through and that you want to change. You like to buy new as you see things, don't you? So what that means is you can't have every single decoration that you've ever owned on a tree unless you keep buying more and more trees. That's also a possibility, but not good in terms of storage. So I think I've gone as far as I can get with my 2 trees. I don't think I can extend if I buy more ornaments. And so there are going to be ornaments and decorations in a tree that you're going to want to get rid of, aren't there, Ingrid?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's kind of, I'm quite traditional. I have a red tree with silver in it. So it would never occur to me to get suddenly blue ornaments or green ornaments or purple ornaments. But other people, they just love to swap their colors around. They change their cushions in their sitting room. They like to have a matching color scheme in their tree, and they really enjoy that. And they kind of think, every couple of years, oh, I'm kind of done now with green. I want to do something else. But there indeed comes a point, how many colors of ornaments can you hold in your house? And if you think to yourself, oh, that purple tree was really nice one year, but purple is not going to happen again, maybe this is now the time to go, right, what colors are not going to make a return to my tree? And have I kind of, by giving trial and error to kind of different schemes and color schemes, have now decided it's going to be a silver tree or a gold tree or a red tree or whatever it is. And the other ornaments are just sitting there in the boxes year after year and not going to use them anymore. Charity shops would love to have this stuff, especially at the beginning of December, which it is now. It's the start of December. And charity shops would love to have them. So fingers crossed that the charity shops are actually reopening again soon so they can sell this stuff, because other people would love this.
Absolutely. So as you're going through and as you're putting your decorations up on your tree, look at what you keep leaving to one side. Even if it's just, it might not be a whole colour scheme. It might just be individual ornaments that you're choosing not to put up on your tree. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So really think that through. once you're decorating your tree, that's the time to make those decisions. Don't leave it until you put your tree away, because you will have missed the opportunity then to donate those decorations so that the charity shop, op shops, Goodwill can use them. So now's the time to bite the bullet and to get rid of those ornaments that you're no longer using.
Fantastic, fantastic, Lesley. The next thing I wanted to talk about is tree holders. Now, maybe like me, you have a real tree. Lesley has an artificial tree. I have a real tree. But maybe I decide, I don't think this is going to happen because I do really, really like my real tree. But maybe there comes a point that a real tree is really no longer something that I want to do. I have these Christmas tree holders that are taking up space. So maybe if you are thinking about this year, I'm going to swap to an artificial tree because I want to do that, can you maybe declutter your Christmas tree holder, because you might not need it for your artificial tree? I mean, I don't know anything about artificial trees, Lesley. Do you need a Christmas tree holder for your I mean, I'm sure they're like, I've got legs that pop out properly to put them up, right?
Yeah, the holder comes with the artificial tree, effectively.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the case for a real tree as well, that they put them in kind of a log type thing that holds them up as well. So you don't always need a holder for a real tree.
Yeah.
But guess what I've got sitting right next to me, ready to declutter?
I've got absolutely no idea.
Well, based on what we were just talking about, I like, guess what? I have a Christmas tree holder sitting right next to me in my office, ready to put on free cycle, because it's probably about 7 or 8 years since I've had a real tree, and that's been sitting there that long. So it's time. It's time.
Wow. Well, just so you know, listeners, I made most of the items on this list I thought of. So this is like, I was reading your mind, Lesley. I knew this because I thought, oh, she's going to say, who's going to declutter a Christmas tree holder? Well, you are. Oh, wait, this is meant to be. This is meant to be. That's so funny. That is so funny.
I know, but the thing is, it's really quite hard because it's a really beautiful wrought iron. Got it in America, 20 years old. But why am I keeping something that's really heavy and takes up a lot of space? Because as I am expanding my Christmas tree ornaments, my space for storing Christmas tree ornaments is kind of, a little bit on the tight side. So I definitely can't keep things that I'm no longer using.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, listeners. This is really a thing. People do declutter them from their houses. So I'm going to give the next one to you, Lesley, because I don't really know a lot about stockings, because that's not something that we in our family have really done. I think I've got one from America because I lived in America too, as you of course know, and I was given one, but it's more for me a decorative item and not something that we actually use. But Christmas stockings is a real thing, right?
It absolutely is a real thing, Ingrid. Yes, it absolutely is a real thing. And what you need to do is you need to look, it very much depends. The problem is with Christmas stockings is that they become, of course, highly sentimental, because a lot of the time when you have Christmas stockings, it's probably when your children were really young or grandchildren. And so we tend to keep hold of them. But if you are the kind of person that buys new Christmas stockings every year, which a lot of people do, because there are beautiful ones coming out. I mean, when you go Christmas shopping, there are so many beautiful Christmas things out there. It's very hard to walk by and not upgrade to new ones. But really be honest with yourself. If you've got any old Christmas stockings that you're never going to come back to because you've got some beautiful new ones, maybe you've had some names put on stockings or something like that, maybe it's time to declutter some of the older stockings that you've got.
Point well made. I hadn't really realized this. So I'm really glad that you put this in the list, Lesley, because that's not something that we do within our family. So because, of course, I'm from Holland and we celebrate St. Nicholas. So the whole Christmas stocking thing kind of passed me by until I actually moved abroad. And I was like, oh, this is actually a thing. And people absolutely love it. So I've heard a lot of stories about Christmas stockings, and I always find it so lovely to hear what people are up to over Christmas, what their traditions are. It's so fascinating, isn't it? All over the world, we do a lot of the same things, but a lot of different things too. And that makes it so interesting, I think.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I love Christmas, and I love the tradition of doing things with your family on different days. That's what makes Christmas for me. And different days are special, and different people celebrate things on different days. Some Christmas Eve, some Christmas Day. We have Boxing Day here in the UK as well. So it extends over a few days, and it's interesting when people unwrap things. Some people unwrap things on Christmas Eve. Some people put a stocking out on Christmas. It just very much depends, and it depends on the age of your children and the makeup of your family as well, doesn't it? I'm feeling all Christmassy. Now we're talking about getting rid of Christmas things. We seem like we're like the mean decluttering ladies, aren't we? That are telling people that they've got to declutter Christmas. How mean are we?
I don't want to be mean.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at this list thinking, how mean are we actually suggesting that people need to declutter Christmas things? But we know that it's just, you don't need to go crazy, but there are a few little things that are perhaps past their best. That's what we're saying. So don't declutter the whole of Christmas, because that would be really sad and not the ideal, message that we want to give out from the Declutter Hub. But anyway, we're getting all hilarious again now and delirious. So we need to stop and move on to the next section of our 10 things you're going to declutter for Christmas.
Yes.
So we've talked about decorations and trees and ornaments and things like that. So what's next on our list, Ingrid?
Well, let's talk about presents and cards and wrapping and those kinds of things, because what we see a lot is gift bags, gift wrapping, bows, and they're all like crunched up. They've been kind of stored in a bag somewhere in between 26 boxes for Christmas decorations, and they've all just gone not nice anymore. They're all a bit damaged. You're not going to use those again. So declutter them. Although they've been maybe in your loft for 4 years, if they're not in a nice state to actually give to somebody else, just declutter them. And even if they're very damaged, don't give them away to other people. Just put them in the recycling if you can. It's like there is only so much life you can get out of a gift bag. And at one point, they're too damaged. And, if the bows are all squashed, you can try and plump them up. At one point, you have to go, okay, right, this is not going to work for me anymore. This has got to go.
I think it's about whether the gift bag reflects you and whether that's something that you would give away. So, and again, it's really interesting when I'm working with clients and we go through gift bags in general or Christmas gift bags and say, is that actually something that you would put in front of a Christmas tree or give to your friend on their birthday? And they're like, no, because it's too creased and damaged. I'm like, exactly. So why are you keeping it? Because it's just going to sit there for years and years and years. And so if you want a quick decluttering project, go through those gift bags, and I can absolutely assure you that there'll be a lot of those that you won't use.
Interestingly enough, some people get given a lot of wine from work or colleagues and things like that, but they actually never really give wine themselves because they're not, maybe they are candle people or toiletry people. They like giving that. So if you've got, honestly, we find 40 wine bags that are never being used. If they're still in good condition, please donate them or free cycle or freegal them or anything like that. But if they're damaged, again, recycle them and don't let them take up space. So you can actually find the ones that you really want to use. And that makes sense.
Same principle as well, Ingrid, for gift tags. You really need to be honest about those gift tags, which is, if you've got lots of things that have got Disney characters on them and your children are 37, then you may not need those Disney gift tags anymore, unless you've got grandchildren and you've gone into the next phase. But, really, gift tags tend to hang around, don't they? They tend to be in one place and they just gather for years and years and years. Look at the gift tags. Is it something that you would use? Is it age appropriate for your family now? That's the important thing. You don't just keep them forever and ever. Donate them. It's the beginning of December. Get those off to the charity shop right now so that somebody else can use them for their Christmas wrapping.
Yes, and the same goes for Christmas cards, isn't it, Lesley? I mean, there's always a stack left over from last year, or a well-meaning family member goes out, is in the local charity shop or in the local WH Smith and thinks to themselves, oh, we need to send out Christmas cards. Let me get some boxes, not realizing there was still 5 boxes left over from last year and 3 from the year before and another one from the year before that. And before you know it, you've got hundreds of boxes with Christmas cards, and there's not enough, time and energy in the world to write all of them. You change, you change the kind of card you want to send. We see it a lot. And again, not only with Christmas cards, also with birthday cards and other cards. Be realistic. Is this a card I still want to send this Christmas? Has my theme changed? Has my mood changed? Has my outlook on card writing, changed? Maybe you send a lot less cards than you would do in the past, but you still in your mind, you're like, I need to get 8 boxes for Christmas cards, but you actually only write about 4. So you got 4 left over from last year, but you've forgotten about them. Declutter them. If they're still in good condition, again, donate them. Not in good condition because they've been scrambled somewhere or pushed in between behind something else, recycle them if you can. Let that go, create that space.
I think old Christmas cards and birthday cards from years ago just have this habit of like sticking around for years and years, don't they? And sometimes you look at things and think, I can't believe I ever sent those Christmas cards. What was I thinking? Do you know what I mean? But you still keep them because you feel completely compelled. And a lot of, when your kids are little and you're like, oh, that'll do, for their class and things like that. Maybe it's that kind of thing that hang around because you bought 3 or 4 packs of them. You got 4 or 5 left at the end of it. Those are the ones that can be donated to a charity shop and somebody will be totally delighted with them. So really take that opportunity to look through your cards, your wrapping paper, your gift bags, your bows, your tags, to see whether they are something that you realistically and honestly would give to somebody else at Christmas. And if not, it's time to donate them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, Lesley, I'm feeling all Christmassy now. I know we're talking about decluttering, but still, it cheers me up tremendously to talk about this stuff. I mean, talking about decluttering always makes us happy. There's no secret about that. And I'm still giggling about the mean decluttering ladies because that's the last thing we want. But we want you to not, leave it until January and then suddenly think, oh, but who wants this stuff now? This is the wrong time of year. So, and if you're getting it out anyway, if you're kind of gathering it all together to put up, to decorate, to write, then it's the perfect opportunity to do a bit of decluttering so it doesn't build up. So I hope this kind of makes sense. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, wow, they've talked about trees, they've talked about presents, but actually there's so much that needs to be done for Christmas and for the holiday season, we have got a solution for you. We have written and recorded and got it all ready, a whole course about Christmas alone, because we do love Christmas, don't we, Lesley? We do.
So we've been feeling quite Christmassy for quite a while, to be fair, because we've been recording things about Christmas since maybe like October, I think. Yeah. So the run up to Christmas has been long for us this year, and our members have already had all that content, haven't they? Yeah. So every week we've been putting out a different lesson on a different thing, but it's now all packaged up and ready to go as a course in our membership, isn't it? So our members have had it, but next year somebody else can have it, and there's still time. If you want to join our membership, you can still do our countdown to Christmas. It might be a little bit on the late side to what we would want you to be, but you've still got 3 weeks and you can action everything in it.
Yeah. Definitely. Now, we have talked about 7 things, and we said it was going to be 10 Christmas items to declutter. So let's then do the last 3 things, Lesley, and they all have to do with kind of our Christmas table and our kind of the way we decorate our table. So the first one we wanted to talk about is tablecloths and napkins. Now, I don't know how about you, but in my house, we normally had like this day-to-day tablecloth that my mom used to put out when we had like dinner. But for Christmas, we had like this beautiful tablecloth with matching napkins and beautiful matching table rings and everything. But there comes a point, there's too much red wine spilled on a white tablecloth, rather a cream tablecloth. Always somebody either spills the red wine or the sauce, the cranberry sauce, or the whatever it is that we put, like the what else do we have with Christmas always?
Just general spills as people start to consume more food and drink. I'm with the same as you, Ingrid. I mean, I don't use a tablecloth from one side of the year to the next, but I do on Christmas Day for the table. What's that all about? Quite strange. I think it's because we have 2 tables, and so we have 2 tablecloths to try and make the tables look the same almost. Do you know what I mean? It's a good way of doing it. But we do have to keep an eye on that tablecloth to make sure that it's still fit for purpose. You want your table to look beautiful on Christmas Day when you decorate it all up, but you don't want it to have those gravy and red wine stains that Ingrid's talking about. So keep an eye on that tablecloth. And if you need to declutter it and get a new one, then now's the time to look at that and to try and buy it in advance of Christmas.
Yes, because the last thing you want is a day before Christmas Day, get it out of your linen cupboard or get it out of your Christmas box and go, oh yeah, that bottle of red wine spilled last year. We didn't really get the stains out. There's now no time anymore to wash it and bleach it and do all of those things. It's just too late. And there comes a point, the stains just don't come out anymore. The hardest you try with all of the stain removers and whatever, and there comes a point when you unfortunately have to give up on some of these things. So have a look at this now. It's only the 4th of December. There is still time. If you do realize, yes, this is a good idea, Lesley and Ingrid, I'm going to have a look at that. See if you can still now wash it, press it, iron it, whatever you do. And if you then need to come to the conclusion, this really has had its best time, there is still time to go for a backup plan.
In our podcast recording, we've just had to have a little pause because we were both laughing hysterically about calling ourselves the mean decluttering ladies. And so we've only just calmed down enough to actually speak again on our podcast because Ingrid thinks it's hilarious. Anyway, right, Ingrid, let's talk about other things that we have around at Christmas that we keep just for Christmas. And so I'm talking about things like charger plates, huge sets of cutlery, special silverware, all of those kinds of things we tend to bring those out just at Christmas, don't we? We keep them for a special occasion. And sometimes that's the only special occasion where we have a lot of people around in the year. I don't know about you, but there's not many times that I sit down 16 people at a table, but Christmas is one of those days. And so we have certain things around our homes that we only keep for special occasions. So cutlery sets, plates, charger plates, those kind of things. And sometimes they may be past their best, or you may not want to use them again.
Or maybe you used to have a large group of people over for Christmas, but you don't do that anymore. You maybe now go to your own children for Christmas and they invite you, but you still have all the stuff for 16 people for dinner, while you might, the biggest number of people you might only have around now is 4 or 6 people and not those large groups that you used to have. So maybe you can whittle down the quantity of stuff you have. You might say to yourself, okay, I don't need 16 charger plates anymore, but I'm going to keep just 4 or 6 because that's the number I still do cater for. And the other things I can maybe either give away or give away within my family. So it's easy for me to borrow back some stuff, but don't just keep it all because you used to do it like that. Well, now you don't. Things change over time. The holidays change, the way you celebrate change. And it's more about what's currently happening in my life instead of I'm just holding on to everything while I'm trying to actually possibly even downsize to a smaller house. And you just can't take it all. I know it sounds really harsh, doesn't it? But you can't just bring everything with you. Like you always had everything on your table and you never use it. It's gathering dust in a sideboard somewhere.
Yeah, and taking up valuable space, it's when these things start to take up space for things that you actually do want to do with your life right now. So maybe you do want to do crafting or something like that, or you have got a hobby that you want to do. And actually, as Ingrid says, this stuff is taking up space in your sideboard that could be better used for something else. So now's the time to make those decisions, to have a look at that kind of thing, to see whether that's something that you're going to use going forwards.
Yes. And the last thing on the list that you possibly want to declutter is your silverware. I remember my grandmother and my mother always used to polish their silver before Christmas and everything was shiny and looking all beautifully gleaming on the table. And now I'm like, I can't even imagine having little silver bits that I need to polish right before Christmas to have it on my table. So if that's something, again, that's stuck in a sideboard or in a console or in a kitchen cupboard high up somewhere because it's never, ever being used, either take it out, polish it so you can use it, or make the decision, is this something that I possibly want to sell, Or maybe if it's sentimental, does anybody in the family want to have it and wants to take care of it? Because there's only so much room in a house to keep all these things.
So have we successfully decluttered Christmas then?
Oh, I'm definitely not decluttering Christmas, Lesley. That will be the last thing that will happen. But I think we're trying to be ahead of the game a little bit, instead of leaving everything till after Christmas to then sort it all out. When you're decorating, when you're getting ready for things, just have a little look through. And if you come across a couple of things you're not using anymore, put them in your donation station so you can have them ready to donate for the next time you drive past a charity shop or your op shop. I mean, how fabulous is that?
I think that was good. That was 10, a good list of 10, Ingrid Jansen.
Well, thank you very much. I am now going to finish the podcast, and then I think I'm going to cry laughing another half an hour about the mean decluttering ladies. So listeners, that's it for this episode. And we hope you've enjoyed listening and are inspired to take action, because that's what it's all about. Thank you so much for being here. And if you've enjoyed this podcast and you think to yourself, I know lots of other people who could really enjoy listening to Ingrid and Lesley too, please share it with other people. On our show notes page on our website, you can find the sharing buttons. If you want more handy tips and advice from us, you can find us in lots of places. We've got a fab supportive Facebook group called the Declutter Hub Community, and we are also on Instagram and on Facebook on a Facebook page. We'd love to see you there. If you'd like to know more about our membership, have a look at members.declutterhub.com to find out more. If you don't want to miss the next podcast, subscribe to the Declutter Hub podcast and we'll pop into your notifications each Friday. We've been asking for reviews, and it's just been absolutely fantastic to read your reviews, and they make a huge difference to us. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, if you're laughing as well, if you're feeling excited about Christmas, please take a couple of minutes of your day and leave us a review. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration, and don't forget to tune in next week.